Hi, the purpose of this video is to walk you through step one of your key assessment. Remember, key assessments are required projects that happen in almost every class of the child development program at Western, and they are required to gain or earn credit for the course. So even if you were to get a passing grade of 70 or above to get credit for the courses that you have to have in your major, but didn't do the key assessment, your grade would be held until you completed the key assessment. So these have to be, every step of the key assessment has to be completed. So go ahead and get started on yours. So for step one, I'll just go ahead and tell you that due to the time it sometimes takes to work with families, which you have to do in this step, this assignment is not due until the end of class week 2. So even though you don't want to procrastinate, you do have some time. But the reason you don't want to procrastinate is because sometimes families do, and you're dependent on 3 families for this assignment. So sometimes it can be hard to coordinate those, and I want you to make sure that you have plenty of time. Now, in the interest of time, sometimes students just give these questions to families and ask them to answer them on their own. I'd really like you to try to avoid doing that. This should be about observing the children, if you can, over the next couple of weeks, and about visiting with the families. As you should know from reading the introduction through chapters 4, that especially the introduction, to really create multicultural, anti-bias classrooms where we're aware of what's going on in the lives of all of our children, the key there is the families and getting to know them. So this assignment is not about you giving them questions to answer and giving them work to do. It's about you visiting and building genuine relationships with them. So that said, you've got 2 weeks to get this done. I want you to pay attention to any due dates and closing dates, because this assignment isn't going to remain open as long as some assignments do, because this is a fast 8-week class and we just don't have time for you to put it off and then still have time for other assignments for the rest of the steps of the key assessment. So here's what the assignment is. For step one, it's a free family observation. And your instructions are to complete this 3 family observation chart that you see here, but it's also in your key assessment template, and that's where you're going to submit your answers. So when you could print it off and fill it out as you talk to individual parents. You could just make notes for yourself what the questions are and then write them down for the parent or as you talk to the parent. But you're going to type your answers in your key assessment template, which is found in the key assessment page of the very first module in Canvas. So the chart is included here in your instructions, but should be completed within your key assessment template, like I just said. You're going to observe and interview the families of 3 children in your care or in the class in which you are completing your fieldwork. Attempt to find 3 families that you know are diverse from one another. Now, depending on where you live or work, your families might not be diverse in some of the ways that people typically think of. However, what you should have learned in this introduction in these 4 chapters is that diversity presents itself in many ways. It refers you to a document that I will post in this module, but isn't there as of right now when I'm recording. But it talks about the same things that your chapters do. Based on what you learn from the families, fill out the chart. Support your answers in your chart with information from your course readings and videos. Include citations. Remember to respond thoughtfully and thoroughly. This is not a place to put minimal answers. Share what you know or learn about these families that make them alike and what make them different. Refer to the rubric in order to ensure you are meeting all of the requirements. So be thorough and thoughtful in these. You should have learned through these chapters that diversity comes in many different ways. Maybe you're going, I live in a small town and everybody's alike. We don't have a lot of different cultures. We don't have different religions. We don't have this. And maybe that's true. Maybe everyone in your center is white and goes to the Baptist church and has a 2-family home. Maybe that's true. But maybe some have a split family home and that makes them diverse from the other 2. Maybe one has a child with disabilities and that makes them diverse from the others. Maybe one has has some foster kids or some adopted kids. That makes them diverse. Maybe some have a grandparent living with them. That makes them diverse. So a lot of different things can make one family diverse from another, even when they look the same on the outside. Okay. Now it's okay if, I mean, maybe you have a white family and a Native American family and a Hispanic family, and then your diversity seems at least pretty obvious right at the beginning, because they might have different cultures, or they might be people who don't embrace the cultures that are possibly typically associated with their heritage. So they might not end up being as diverse as you think. This is just an opportunity for you to learn and to realize where diversities do and don't lie sometimes. So get to know these families, be thorough in your answers. Your key assessment is 30% of your overall grade. This is a major grade for you. So treat it like that when you're writing these answers. Be thorough, be thoughtful. Don't rush through it or do the minimal that you think might be required. Do everything that you need. To go on here, reading chapter 2 of your textbook before visiting with families and completing this chart will help students have a deeper understanding of culture, things I was just talking about. It is much more than race, ethnicity, the language they speak, or religion. As the text explains, sorry for my typo, many factors contribute to a group's and or individual's culture. People are often part of more than one culture. The topics that you visit with these families about and your responses on this chart should reflect an understanding of culture that is reflected in chapter 2. Students could or should even cite specific references to the chapter in the chart, or to other videos, or to any of the readings for this week, but you need to have some references to get the maximum points. So here's the chart. You can click here to get an example of a student chart, but I do want you to notice that some of the questions and the rubric have changed a little bit since this, so it's a good start, but make sure you're meeting the requirements you need to be. Just be thoughtful and thorough. One thing I see a lot of times is I might see where somebody put the family celebrate typical American holidays. Well, Americans aren't typical anymore. We're diverse. We've got lots of different cultures in America. So what exactly does that mean? And okay, maybe you're thinking, well, obviously it means Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. Okay, but people celebrate those in different ways. For some people, Christmas is not a religious holiday. It's a time to get together with people and exchange presents, but they don't think about it religiously at all. Same with Easter, really. For some, it's about the bunny and eggs, and it's not a church holiday, but for some people it is. So dig deeper than just they celebrate the American holidays, or other holidays of other cultures that you might learn about. So just be thorough here. Don't try to rush through answers. Be thorough. And then another thing that I often see people miss is that it says, how are you accommodating each family's culture or diversity? Okay, maybe you're not yet. Maybe it's that you will. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity. But notice it says each. So you need to have a plan you need to have 3 plans here, 1 for each family. So, like I said, you're going to do this in your key assessment template, and then steps 2 through 5 will be blank, but you're going to submit the whole template with just this step done. So I hope that's helpful for step 1, and I look forward to seeing what all you learn about these families.